All right, strap in, everyone. Let's get right into it.
Hmm.
We're diving deep today, like really deep. We're going beyond those flashy headlines. We're digging into the whispers, the unusual activity, the stuff that actually makes the market tick.
Exactly. It's all about separating the signal from the noise. Think of this deep dive as like your daily dose of market intel, but the kind they don't print in the mainstream.
So what's on the menu for this deep dive? Well, we've got some spicy GameStop speculation, of course, never a dull moment there, and a whale making some big moves. You won't believe this.
Should we start with the GameStop roller coaster?
Oh, absolutely. Buckle up, because this one's wild. So over on old Superstonk, right, the DFV disciples are going crazy over this one user who's claiming, get this, he's predicting that DFV is going to file a 13G for, wait for it, 10% or more ownership of GameStop on November 4th, after hours.
A13G, right. That's the form you file when you acquire a significant chunk of a company's stock. I'm sure most of you listening already know that. But what makes this, well, spicy is DFV himself.
Right. DFV, the legend. I mean, his track record kind of speaks for itself, doesn't it? But here's the thing. This Reddit user, they've got like a whole list of clues. I mean, it's almost like a treasure hunt.
Oh, yeah, let's hear about these clues. What do they got?
Okay, so first up, unusual volume on September 20th. Maybe, just maybe, DFV was loading up on shares then. Then there's this whole thing with the 13GA he filed early for a completely different stock. And the Reddit user is saying that's like a signal, a little nod to those in the know.
The September 20th thing? Yeah, that is curious. But we have to be careful, right? Just because there's a correlation doesn't mean it's DFV pulling the strings. Could be other factors at play. And as for the 13GA, that could just be a coincidence. I mean, it's possible. Although, well, DFV has never been one to play by the rules, has he?
Well, he plays his own game for sure. Okay, ready for more clues. This Reddit user brings up DFV's Twitter, right? Specifically, that emoji timeline of his. The theory is pointing to something massive happening around Election Day. And, wait, it gets better. They're connecting his Forrest Gump tweet to a, get this, metaphorical return to GameStop. Like he's running back.
Wow, they've really gone all in on this theory. It's quite impressive, actually, the amount of effort they put into connecting these dots. But here's the question. Are these genuine signs? Or are we just seeing what we want to see? You know, that whole confirmation bias thing.
Confirmation bias. It's the investor's worst enemy, right? But hang on, there's more. This Reddit user, they even bring V for Vendetta into it. That whole remember the 5th of November line? I mean, at this point, is this a stock prediction or a movie pitch? It's entertaining, though. Maybe there's something to it. What do you think?
It's definitely a fascinating thought experiment, isn't it? It's amazing how people can weave together these seemingly unrelated threads into a compelling narrative. But at the end of the day, we have to stay grounded. Look at the fundamentals of GameStop's business, the broader market trends. That's what will really inform our decisions.
Speaking of GameStop's fundamentals, there's a whole other buzz going on over at RGME. It seems like Seeking Alpha might be warming up to GameStop. There's this article making the rounds, and it's actually pretty bullish. They're talking about the new consoles coming out, new game launches, even the new Nintendo Switch as potential growth drivers for GameStop.
Seeking Alpha, huh? Well, you know, their user-submitted model is a bit of a double-edged sword. On one hand, it allows for a lot of different viewpoints, but the quality of analysis can be all over the place. It's not always the most rigorous research, let's say.
Right, good point. And some of the commenters on Reddit were definitely skeptical about that, accusing Seeking Alpha of chasing clicks over substance. But it's not just the article itself that's interesting. There's this whole side discussion about GameStop maybe playing the Trump card, so to speak.
How so?
They're talking about the company's marketing
Yeah.
and some of Chairman Ryan Cohen's tweets, and some people are seeing a connection there, like a deliberate alignment.
I see. This is where we need to tread carefully, I think. It's easy to jump to conclusions and start connecting business decisions with political affiliations, but we need to remember that companies often make moves based on market factors, not ideology.
Yeah, you're right. Separating those things can be tricky. But, it's sparked a pretty heated debate over on RGME. Some users think it's a smart move tapping into the specific market. Others are worried about aligning the company with potentially divisive political views.
It's a valid concern, for sure. While controversy can sometimes generate buzz and attract attention, it can also backfire and alienate potential customers and investors. It's a delicate balance. What are your thoughts on this, listeners? Do you see GameStop's actions as clever marketing or a risky gamble? Weigh in and let us know.
All right, enough GameStop speculation for now. Let's switch gears and talk about some serious whale activity.
Hmm.
We got an alert from Unusual Whales. Jeff Bezos just sold over 16 million Amazon shares. That's like $3 billion, folks. $3 billion.
Okay, before everyone starts panicking, it's important to note that these were pre-planned stock sales, disclosed well in advance. It doesn't necessarily mean Bezos is suddenly bearish on Amazon.
Okay, so no need to hit the panic button just yet. But come on, you know the Reddit crowd, right? They love a good conspiracy theory. The comments are on fire with speculation about what's really behind this massive sell.
Of course they are. It's what they do best. So what are some of the theories floating around?
Well, the one that keeps popping up is taxes. Specifically, that unrealized capital gains tax everyone's talking about. You know, the tax on the profit you'd make if you sold an asset. And with the election coming up and potential changes to tax policy, some people think Bezos might be trying to cash out some of those gains now.
That's certainly a plausible scenario. And I'm sure the timing isn't lost on anyone. It's not surprising that some would see a connection there.
Taxes, elections, it's all connected. What other theories are people throwing around?
Well, there's always the classic market crash theory, the idea that Bezos is sensing some kind of economic storm on the horizon and decided to build up his cash reserves. Then there's a Blue Origin angle. Bezos has been pouring billions into his space exploration company, so some people are speculating that he's freeing up funds for that.
Wow, so many possibilities. What do you think is the most likely explanation?
It's hard to say for sure. It's all speculation at this point. But if we look at Bezos's past behavior, he's consistently been very committed to funding Blue Origin. And the potential tax implications are definitely something to consider as well. The market crash theory is always out there, but right now there's no concrete evidence to support it.
Right. It's all about weighing the probabilities, looking at the evidence, and making informed decisions.
Yep.
What I find interesting is that this isn't an isolated incident. We've seen a trend of insider selling among other high-profile figures lately as well.
That's a good point. When multiple influential individuals start making similar financial moves, it can definitely suggest a shared sentiment or maybe anticipation of future market events. Definitely something to keep an eye on.
And let's not forget the elephant in the room, the election. The outcome could have a huge impact on the market, and it seems like some savvy investors are already positioning themselves accordingly.
Absolutely. The election always injects a certain level of uncertainty into the market. Investors with different political outlooks and risk tolerances will naturally adjust their portfolios based on their predictions and how they think the outcome might impact their investments.
So let's recap. We've got DFE potentially making a power play, Bezos cashing out billions, and a general sense of unease among some of the biggest players. What does this all mean for someone like you, someone who's plugged into the markets every single day?
It means staying informed, being critical of the information we're bombarded with, and avoiding knee-jerk emotional reactions. We've explored some interesting signals today, some more credible than others, but ultimately, it's up to each individual investor to assess their own risk tolerance, their investment goals, and make decisions based on a solid understanding of what's happening in the market.
Very well said. This deep dive has certainly given us a lot to think about. We've uncovered some intriguing whispers, followed the money trail of some big moves, but the real question is, what will you do next? What signals are you seeing? I mean, we've only scratched the surface here, haven't we?
That's the beauty of it, isn't it? We're just laying out the pieces, the puzzle, really. And it's up to each of you to put it all together, to see the picture that emerges from all this information.
And that's why I love these deep dives. It's not about, regurgitating headlines. It's about understanding the undercurrents, the psychology even, of the people making these moves. So what about you listening? What are your thoughts? What's your next play going to be?
We always say the best insights come from the collective wisdom of the crowd, so share your thoughts. What are you seeing out there? Let's turn this deep dive into a real conversation.
Until next time, stay sharp, stay curious, and stay ahead of the curve. What will you do next? What signals are you seeing? I mean, we've only scratched the surface here, haven't we?
That's the beauty of it, isn't it? We're just laying out the pieces, the puzzle, really. And it's up to each of you to put it all together, to see the picture that emerges from all this information.
And that's why I love these deep dives.
Yeah.
It's not about, regurgitating headlines. It's about understanding the undercurrents, the psychology even, of the people making these moves. So what about you listening? What are your thoughts? What's your next play going to be?
We always say the best insights come from the collective wisdom of the crowd. So share your thoughts. What are you seeing out there? Let's turn this deep dive into a real conversation.
Until next time, stay sharp, stay curious, and stay ahead of the curve.